Welcome to Insurance Technology Amplified, the podcast where we explore how innovation is transforming the insurance industry. This is the place where technology and expertise come together to empower agents, carriers, and the industry alike. Thank you for tuning in. Now, let's get to the show.
We started this podcast. It's, on one hand, it's the kind of thing you have to do. If you don't have a podcast, like, well, who the hell are you really in this industry? Like, you can't be taken seriously if you don't have a podcast. So, but really, at the end of the day, we've got a lot to say, and we have strong opinions about insurance, and we want to socialize, kind of our approach to things to the IA community. And we're investing a lot. We're building a lot, and we want it to be heard. And we have this weekly podcast scheduled to talk to intelligent people and people with influence and people with insight into the industry. And being that we couldn't get any of them on the phone.
Yeah.
Yes, they were all busy. You took my line, so they were all busy. So we called Ryan Hanley.
I was gonna say,
Right.
I
Sorry
can
to
talk
step on your
shit,
joke.
and I
My
certainly
bad, my
can
bad.
make words come out of my
Yeah.
face hole, but I don't know if they're gonna be intelligent.
Yeah, no. So one thing I have to say is I follow you on TikTok,
Yes.
and for a long time you were at 12,300 followers, and you for a long time, and you broke above that, like, and it was a nice little bump. So I enjoy the content, and we want to inform independent agents. We'd love to, you talk to them all day long. We can make all the jokes, but you are a smart guy, and we right now we're obsessed with AI, and I think we will be for a long time. So
Let's do
I
it.
always
I
like
got
to
plenty
start
of
with
time.
that, and once we start with that, we usually don't end. And this is really, and it didn't set out to be an AI focused format, but at the end of the day, it's very important.
Dude,
So
you fire
let's talk
away.
about that.
We can rip. We're good. I can. I'll flow with you. So we can. Let's rock and roll. I'm good to go.
So let's start with this.
Yep.
What percentage of independent agents that you encounter, or what would your assessment be of if I were to poll a random 1,000 independent agents, what percentage of them truly understand AI and are doing anything about it?
If you take the entire agency plan, I'd say less than 10%. If you're taking the engaged, technology-focused, growth-oriented agencies, which I'd put more at around 10,000 agencies instead of the normal 35,000, then I'd say probably a solid 30% are really getting involved right now. I think people are playing around with it. I think it depends on whether or not you consider using the free version of OpenAI, using AI or not, which I think depending on if you're actually putting that into the market, I'd say that's playing with it. Truly understand it is very low, because I think most people who are using it see the outcome of the tool and don't necessarily even care that it's AI. They just see the outcome of the tool, which again, I'm fine with. I'm fine with that in general as we evolve. Here's what excites me the most about AI. To me, it feels like this is the first technology that I've been a part of in our industry that I don't feel like we're late adopters on. I feel like in general, people are picking up on this is something I need to get a handle on. And even if they're just watching still, for so many other, think about VoIP, the simplest technology to wrap your head around. You just don't need to hardwire your phones. Like that took 15 years for widespread adoption, VoIP, right? That's the simplest thing. It's cheaper. It allows you to have your phone anywhere. Like you can transfer numbers easily. You don't have to pay for all this infrastructure. And it took 15 years to do that. So I think what I'm seeing here is a much more rapid adoption and focus on the tech and its potential uses, which excites me, even if we don't have the overall adoption yet.
As you talk to agents, obviously we talk to agents that are part of our platform mostly, but what is kind of like the one word feeling? Is it excitement? Is it anxiety? Is it being scared? Is it being hopeful? Is it dismissive? What would you call is the prevailing feeling among agents?
I'd say what I'm hearing is, so the people that I talk to mostly, and some of this is bias because I tend to skew more towards a growth oriented or technology focused agency, just tends to be people who orient themselves towards me, right? That kind of trad agency that kind of is local and is going to do things the same way they don't talk to me. They're not interested in what I have to say. So I will say I'm slightly biased. In those regards, I say people are, I'd say, what is the word for the emotion where it's somewhere between excitement and anxiety. It's like a nervous energy. Like I think they can see the potential and they're hopeful, but there's a part of them that is going like, I'm also really worried that someday these are going to become robots that murder us. I think there is part of that there, but I'd say in general, I think most people are excited about what it can do for them. I don't think everyone knows and I don't think many people are thinking out into the future yet, but I do think they're hopeful for what this can do.
Do you see a lot of FOMO, like the fear of missing out type of?
I think that's always going to be there. The difference with AI tools, and I'd be super interested in your guys' take, is they seem to be more accessible. Previous technology was like I had to install this and upload this and, put this file in this folder, all this other stuff that you had to do to like get usage of the tech. AI is very like, take my Gmail, hit a button, put my password in, and I'm using it. And I think that accessibility allows people to feel that lowered barrier of accessibility allows people to feel like they can play with the tool, screw around with it a little bit. If they like it, keep it. And if they don't, punt it. And it's not really a huge impact on their business. And I do think that's advantageous to growth because now people can think of things as projects or tests instead of like, I have to commit the next 3 years of technology budget to adding this function into my agency.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, and I spent my last part of my career dealing with APIs, right, which is a huge opener for the industry, but it's also, I would say, largely inaccessible to the normal agency, right? Like you needed engineers who understood that and where it was plugging into and going to. And so I think that's a really good point. I mean, it is very, very, even at its simplest level, right? Like it's not hard to open up ChatGPT, and how deep of an integration that is, we can all debate. But yeah, I think it's a much more easier tool. Like help me write an email, right? Like you can do things that are very, very simple, and you can do them today, right?
And agentic AI, which we can talk about, with that coming down the pipe, that's going to give us the ability to essentially bypass the need for APIs in a lot of the lighter use cases where before, in order to get that information out of a system, we had to use an API, right? I think there's always going to be a use case for deep API integrations. However, some of these lighter use cases, agentic AI is just going to go, give me your login. I'll just go act as you, do the thing, pull the information and suck it back into your system. And now I don't have to worry about, getting permission to build hard pipes into your system. I can just go do I can just have a machine go do what I do as if it's me and pull the information back without me ever having to perform the task.
Totally.
Yeah. Speaking of agentic AI, I had gone through that journey of like being excited, like you said, like a little bit anxious, what's going to happen. You get the articles initially. And this is all in a 3-month period that SaaS is going to be dead. And obviously, being a SaaS business owner, I'm like, Mike, what are we doing? Haircutters or butchers or something that cannot be done. But so I got really excited, started educating. I got really excited about agents and, orchestrating agents and, digital workforce and all that stuff. But I've come to realize that now that I've watched all the internet videos on all kinds of AI, that, I don't think we should even be using the term AI. I'll be honest with you. LLM is not AI. LLM is a predictive, it's a really huge ass database that they figured out, vectorizing it, how to quickly, access every little corner of it, and then how to make it predict the next word. It's really what it is. It's language. It's not creative. It can't create yet. Maybe eventually it will learn what is the is it epistemology,
Yeah.
the theory of science and learning,
Mhm.
and it will figure out. But without tools to observe, without tools to do experiments the way humans learn, it literally is a big statistical model that
Yeah.
just can get to. And from what I've learned, it's already from what I've read, it's hit the it's consumed all the available original human created knowledge and content, all the books, all the articles, news, that's already gone through all of that. So the only thing it can go now is going to regurgitating it, this stuff, and then and it will become a vicious feedback loop. So what I'm saying is, I've now kind of scaled back my expectations, right? Because the curve looked pretty ominous, right? It looked like by the end of this year we'll be ruled by AI. But I think we've hit this wall and it ain't happening. And I think to go to that next level where you can have a human-like behavior, I think we're years away from that.
So so the scary part to me, so for full kind of disclosure to the audience, I was no more than a kind of an outside observer / user of AI until I joined Lincora. And then when I joined Lincora about a year ago as a board member, I said, hey, if I'm going to be on the board of this company, I might as well understand what the hell this AI is. So I've gone down this rabbit hole super far. And then also I spent a lot of time with our AI developers as well. And to your point, the first thing that hit me was how actually basic LLM technology is, like in terms of what it's actually doing, right? So it takes this huge amount of data, it vectorizes it, which use that word for the people at home who may not know. It essentially puts a value to each individual word and or character in that word so that the database can quickly search, can quickly, this word comes after this word 10,000 times on this Reddit board when this question is asked, therefore that should be the next word, et cetera. And that's how it's able to produce the results. It's essentially a faster way of combing through a database and returning results is in a broad stroke what it is, which at first, because we all know how expensive it is both to house and to process large, enormous data sets, that was very exciting. It drastically brought down the cost as well as rapidly increased the speed. And that was a very exciting advance. However, now that I've started to get a feel for what agentic AI is and does, I start to think about the possibilities and I'm like, LLMs, great. Large data sets, pulling information out, etc., awesome. But when we think about what agentic, and again, guys, not an AI expert, so I'm giving you the 30,000 foot view of what this is. But essentially, what we do when we think about agentic AI is we take individual functions for our purposes. Let's say a bindability calculation. For another one might be lifetime value of a customer calculation. Another one might be accurately verifying and reclassifying a business's NAICS code. Another might, okay, et cetera. Right? So we have all these different functions. And what it allows and what an agentic AI system does is those individual, and for those that aren't watching, I'm doing air quotes, agents, right? Those agents, they are getting better and better and better at that singular function, right? It's like they're getting better at one singular task. And then what the system does is it's able to rapidly pull from whichever agent it needs at any given time and or daisy chain those agents to produce a better answer. So like, let's say hey, I want to know what carrier this should go to, right? Let's just say that's what I'm trying to do. That's the function I'm trying to perform. You put a business in, that business goes to the NAICS classification, that goes to the coverage recommendations, that goes to the what is the value, what's the claims history or claims, score for this, that goes to which carriers have it in their appetite, that goes to the pricing calculation, which actually produces a list. Now that happens for you, the user, in a finger snap. But for the system, right, a large LLM can't do all those calculations at once and can't produce consistently better results because it can only work off this enormous database it has and what it's already seen. What these agents are able to do is actually inject not just the return of information, but actual calculations and get better at those calculations at an incredibly rapid speed because it's all they're doing over and over and over again. And we start to think about that level of performance, right? That allows us to do things at scale and in timeframes that are almost unimaginable today. And that's where really I see the rapid improvement in efficiency, effectiveness, and what we do.
So that's a great point.
We talked a little bit about this, and I can't remember if I was liquid or not. But when I envision where I think like an AMS and really let's broaden that, the systems that we use, like the way I look at it is there should be 0 tabs and 1 tool. That's it, right? That's all. Why are there all these tabs? Like, it drives me insane. Like, and the reason is because we didn't have technology when agency management systems were first developed to be able to push and pull function, pull it into a single box, have one single like input or exput function, do all these different things, right? So like we didn't have that ability. So we had to create tabs for each one. But when I think about a platform that like I would love to use, is it's literally just, you know, and again, I'm maybe oversimplifying a little, but think about it this way. It's just a chat window. It's just a fucking chat window. What do I want to do? Tell me all the prospects that I have to call today. Whoop, list comes up. Tell me everyone who I've sent a proposal to who hasn't responded within 3 days. Whoop, right? And it puts their contact information. Hey, this account, you know, the account comes in bound. I upload the policies to the chat window. I say process this bound account. It sucks them into the system, rips off the information with an OCR, populates the database in the effective manner. I don't need to go into the data. I don't need to see it. Right? I don't need to see all that crap. I don't need to tab through to see it, because if I want to know, hey, what was the premium on John Smith's BOP? What's the premium on John Smith's BOP? Whoop, $1,517. Great. Like, there's no reason to have all these friggin' tabs. There's just not. And you could do it by voice. I could literally just sit here with my microphone, not type a single thing all day, and just do my job, right? Make sure things are happening the way they should. And I do think there needs to be human involved. I think the next logical question of what I'm describing is, well, why do you need to have a human in there at Evolve? Because humans do 3 things better than machines: build relationships, solve problems, and sell shit. That's what humans do better than machines. I don't know that machines will be able to do those 3 things better than humans at any time in the foreseeable future, but I find it hard to believe, right, that machines can't do anything else better, right? Or, yeah, I think I said that right, although it came out as a double negative. You know, I think that, you know what I mean? Like processing a bound policy, that is a waste of your people's time. There is nothing in there that takes thought, that takes real decision-making, right? So move your humans to places where decisions need to happen in building relationships, right? Your customer calls with a problem. They want to talk to a human. They want to know, hey, I got this thing. Am I doing it right? Am I seeing this right? Why did this happen? I don't understand. They want to talk to a human. Instead of, I talked about this with you, Michael, and probably you too, Adam, about rogue risk. Like, our whole philosophy was flipping. So I found this stat that the average CSR, if you take out all their tasks that they do, they spend about 20 minutes total from acknowledging that the request is there to processing the request, right? With some taking much longer and some taking much shorter. Average is 20. In that 20 minutes, they spend 5 minutes talking to the customer and 15 minutes processing the friggin' request. Imagine what would happen to your retention, to your sales, to the overall quality and culture of your business if you could flip that on its head. If they knew they could spend the same 20 minutes, except 15 of those minutes were, how's the family? Hey, I know we've been talking about that commercial umbrella for like 5 years. There was just a big judgment. Let's talk about that. Maybe we should get a quote for that. What else is going on? Oh, hey, Johnny's been sick a bunch. You don't have short-term disability. Is that something? I mean, these are all the things you can get to if you don't have to spend all that time processing shit. And that's where I see AI changing the nature of our business. We go back to doing the things that we love about the business, meeting people, helping them, figuring out what they need, selling them stuff, and we get away from fingers on keyboards typing information into fucking boxes.
I had a couple of responses 3 lines back, but you guys like,
Sorry.
The whole thing about navigation is like that's GUI for humans, right? So Ryan's right, we don't need that for bots. But I was going to play the devil's advocate in this session, like the old stodgy AI sucks, you know, we don't need who needs AI. But to extend Ryan's third point, like, you know, AI cannot sell better than humans. true, maybe to humans, but very soon, I imagine I'm not going to be shopping for anything. I'm just going to have my agent go out there and get me the policy. So my agent will most likely talk to agents, and I figure other agents, AI agents, not insurance guys, but will probably be better at selling to my agent than the human to me.
So
So,
wonderful, wonderful point. So let me talk on that for just a second, since you
but
guys
there's
have
one you
yeah,
can
go
talk
ahead.
to that. I just want to throw one other thing out. Um, Going way back. So when Ryan, you guys are talking about orchestration and agents, linking up and doing all these different tasks. And I think that's kind of like currently the crux of the problem. So, you know, the minute you, agentic, simple agents, AI agents right now, can perform tasks that on average takes humans 1-2 steps, maybe 30 to a minute, 30 seconds to a minute, right? The minute you try extending that workflow to more steps and more, branches, it gets exponentially less accurate. So if you
Yes.
keep it to a simple task, you're probably 80% there, right? If it's programming or whatever it is, you're sending an email, scanning an email. But you then try to link that up to the next few steps. Like, for example, what you described earlier is, that 20-minute that takes the CSR to figure out an endorsement service request. As you add more tasks and you extend the amount of time humans currently spend on that, the accuracy of that AI agent basically declines significantly. It's in the teens and it becomes
Yes.
useless. So that's where we are now. Before we move on to the next topic, is we need a protocol. I just wanted to throw it out there because just to, all these individual agents, the minute they can talk to each other and figure out who can do what and which agent do I get to next, is when we probably go breakthrough into that. Now we can get like one agent that can go out there and figure out, without knowing, without programming from a human, without defining this workflow, what do I have to go to get right now, the weather obviously, or to get my policy, or to get the quote and the risk appetite. And I think we probably should throw out the word the MCP. Is that the protocol? So we need a protocol, just like
Yeah.
HTTP and TTPS became the bedrock of like the whole World Wide Web explosion. I think that this is the first incarnation. I've seen other ones, but the MCP protocol allowing agents to discover each other and talk to each other, and knowing what is it that it can do. Oh, I know who can do that for me. I can go do it
Yeah.
without coding it. And,
No, you've hit on it. So I took a couple notes here. I think to your first point about there will come a day where my personal assistant agent, I'm like, hey, we haven't shopped our quote in 2 years. How about we do that? And I hit a button and the agent goes out and shops for me and comes back, right? Like so to that point, this is why I kind of take this example for what it is, but kind of a life philosophy of mine is Bruce Lee's like be like water, right? Like we have to be very malleable to what's happening. And where agents get in trouble is often they become too set in one ideological workflow, right? This is the way we do it. And what I've always said to them is I'm never going to ask you to stop doing business the way you're doing it. What I'm going to say is, let's start to think about other avenues for other types of customers because you essentially have two options. If you're going to force people down one particular way of doing business, what you're saying is, I am okay limiting my market to the type of customers that are willing to do business in this one particular way. If you want to grow, and I think in a highly competitive, much more technologically advanced environment, growth requires us to expand the pool of prospects that we're willing to work with. In order to do that, we have to create multiple channels in which people can get to us in multiple different workflows. So I think it's ultimately going to be both. Completely agree with your complexity of tasks. And it comes to your second point. People who start to dabble in understanding AI often get AI agents mixed up with agentic AI, two very different things.
can you explain that?
Yeah. An AI
Put you on
agent.
the spot.
Okay, so an AI agent is essentially a single function bot that you have trained to go out and do an individual task. And as you said, right, what happens is each additional layer of complexity that you add to that agent, right, it becomes less and less and less effective. Okay. Very effective often with singular tasks, but with a second task, a third task, a drastic decline in efficiency. The difference between an AI agent and agentic AI is the nature of how it works. So where an AI agent, you are essentially stacking up if-then statements, right? And which is part of why it doesn't work, because it can't make decisions. It's just, if this happens, go here, and then with agentic AI, right? Maybe you send that same initial AI agent out to do a task, but the minute it finishes task, it goes, hey, I'm only the pick which carrier bot. Now I'm gonna tag in the quote Hartford bot, and that's gonna go in and come back. And now I'm gonna tag in the upload documents and fill out agency management box. Now I'm gonna tag the notify agent of proposal, create proposal, and deliver to agent email inbox bot, right? And now what the agentic AI is doing is essentially tagging the next function that is an expert in that thing. So now you can, as a business, daisy chain workflows, but you're essentially tapping into a different knowledge base and a different operational structure for each individual task that needs to happen. So to you, the user, it may look like I ask for a quote, it goes out and pulls me back a proposal that's in my email inbox, home run. But with an AI agent, that is going to take more time and be far less effective, because you're trying to piece all those different functions, tasks, information, etc., into one single box. Where with the agentic, you're able to create individual experts for each function that you need.
If I may, just a 10-second comment, I always try to figure out that difference. And to me, here's the major difference between what's like a traditional workflow that could be an agent, right? Could use an LLM, so it doesn't make it an agent, and agentic. I think the big difference is, in one case, you always know what the outcome is going to be, whether it's positive or a failure. And with the agentic workflows, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. It will take a different path on its own, depending on decision it makes autonomously. And I think that is the biggest distinction between identifying, is this an agentic kind of environment workflow? Is it like just a workflow that uses LLM, so we call like an AI agent?
Well, going back to the example I just used, so for the audience at home, what that would look like is I start my let's go get a quote agent, right? Function. Okay. And my first bot packages it up, and it comes back with Hartford #1, Travelers #2, Chubb #3, just to take 3 big carriers. Everyone knows. Okay. And in this case, to your point, Peter, an AI agent is going to go out and be forced to get quotes from all 3, because it's not going to be able to make a decision, right? It's just getting quotes from all 3 if it can, pulling them back and putting, right? What the AI agent is going to do is go out, it's going to check Hartford and come back and say, this looks a little off from a pricing perspective. Okay, let's check Travelers. Well, Travelers actually has 2 exclusions that Hartford doesn't have, but its price is less. So let's keep both of those. Then we go out and look at Chubb, and we say, Chubb's a little more expensive, but it's basically the same policy as Hartford. So again, nothing against Chubb. I love you guys. Wrote a ton of it when I was at Rogue. This is not a knock on you. You guys are amazing. But in this scenario, Chubb's kind of has the same basic setup for a BOP for this line of business as Hartford, and it's $200 more. So I'm only going to pull back Hartford and Travelers in this particular case, right? And that what you're getting back, you may have gotten one proposal back. In this case, because there were some differences, the bot decided to pull both back, so you could make the option as the like that type of decision making is the difference that Peter's describing.
So, how confident? Let's put it this way: when do we see an agency, typical agency, let's call it like 5-10 people, right? That where presumably 80% of the workflows, especially the menial tasks, are automated, where people are kind of like observers.
80% in 5 years.
5 years. Actually, initially I was thinking, couple of years, but I would agree with you. That would probably be my estimate.
Yeah, I think for broad, I think what's going to happen here is this is going to be slow, really friggin' fast. It's everywhere. Because again, look at like your guys' platform, right? You're putting the groundwork in and the foundation in today to integrate AI into everything that happens inside your platform.
We're
Right?
retooling our own
Yeah.
engineers, like go
Yeah.
learn AI.
Yeah, no, 100%, right? And that's exactly what you should be doing. And so what's going to happen, I think, is that not so much, I think the way we get to that number, to that 80% of our tasks in 5 years, Peter, is not agents going out and finding and implementing the tools. I think it's the tools they're using today are just building this. It becomes paramount to their survival that they build AI into their system. And now these things are just happening automatically through function and enhancements inside the tools they're already using. I think that's how we get there.
There is a wild card in that whole thing, and I don't want to talk more, whatever engineering, scientific stuff. But are you following at all the quantum computing thing? I mean, the scale is astounding.
Yeah.
What is the number? Quintillion times faster than the current supercomputer. I mean, I don't even know what that number is. It's billions and trillions of times, trillions times faster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically what I was thinking about it is, if you were to, like my dog, if I walk my dog and there is a deer 20 yards away and the deer is stationary, it won't have no idea unless, if the wind's blowing the other way, it has no idea there's a deer. I know there is a deer because I see in color. So my eyes and brain can process, more than the black and white that the dog brain can process, right? Now, this is a similar analogy of the current supercomputer looking, let's say, to a telescope to the universe, right? It sees a bunch of stars, but it's black and white, has no idea what it's seeing. If quantum computing comes along and it can see to the same telescope, it can probably, with this many gazillion times faster perception and analytics, it can probably figure out the origins of the universe and instantaneously.
If quantum computing becomes reality, right? So for those at home, quantum computing is there. It is highly inaccurate today. However, when they get accurate responses, because there's the mechanics of it are insane, way beyond my ability to even give you a 30,000 foot. But the idea here is that these things are happening so fast, and they're also happening in ways that we still don't necessarily understand. But when we are able to get accurate responses, they're happening in a time frame that's unimaginable to our brains. Like we can't process the speed in which they're happening. If they can ever actually harness, and by they I just mean scientists around the world, if we can harness quantum computing in our lives, which who knows if that'll happen in our lifetime or not, I hope so. When that does, that literally changes our existence. It will provide. I mean, depending on what layers of this you believe, you're essentially. So the way that quantum computing works is you're leveraging compute power from other universes. So it essentially, quantum computing, if you believe it, essentially proves the case that the multiverse exists, that there are multiple universes happening simultaneously. And the way that it gets its compute power is it essentially takes a single atom and it's able to pull the compute from that version of that atom in every universe that exists into a specific moment and compute it, right? And again, take what I'm saying at face value. This is me listening to probably a dozen podcasts and reading a few white papers, but it changes everything. I find it incredibly intriguing on layers outside of insurance. I don't know that as insurance professionals, we have to worry too much about quantum computing because if it comes, it's going to impact our lives in other ways that are much more substantial. Right. However, what I do think is interesting is, just philosophically, I think the fact that the multiverse could exist or be real, I think is awesome. We've kind of known for a while, if you Google or you watch Instagram or whatever, you'll see the dual slit test where they pass atoms through. If you just spray atoms on a piece of paper, it creates the same pattern every single time. However, if you put two slits in, you get differences. And essentially, and I don't understand the mechanics of this, guys, but essentially what's happening is these atoms are interacting with atoms in other versions of our universe and forcing those atoms in directions that they can't calculate, right? They're basically bending around turns that shouldn't be possible by the standard physics that we understand. And if the multiverse is real, then Marvel, hit the jackpot.
Yeah, it's the uncertainty principle basically of quantum mechanics. But one clear, yes, I have no idea how this is going to impact us. But the minute they harness that, all of our encryption becomes obsolete.
Yes.
And that is definitely a very practical way.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And but you got to figure the day we get there, they're also going to have quantum encryption. So they'll just, they'll have it the other way too. Everyone says that they're like, all our nuclear codes go out the door, but you're like, I'm pretty sure, if they can kill JFK and take a couple shots at Trump, like they're going to know quantum computing is coming and they'll be like, hey, maybe we just need to quantum encrypt our shit so that, they can't get into the nuclear codes.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Depends on which party's in power, I guess.
But I think that's the real scary one. From what I'm reading, it's just like you. I just, I don't know anything about it, just following some podcasts. But they're making progress.
Yeah. Definitely making progress.
One thing that's exciting is if that can solve cold fusion.
Dude, I think this is a really wild time to be alive, and I know we're kind of off the insurance course here, but it's fine. But I think
we have no listeners anyway, so just
that's we'll fix that. Maybe this will change everything. Now we'll get a whole broader audience. No, I think taking this to a more practical level, I think we live in an incredibly interesting time. I think we're very blessed. There's a lot of challenges, right? But if you take a step back, right, when in doubt, pull out. Good life advice for all of us, especially young men. If you look at the
now
broader,
we're way off topic.
Yeah, if you look at the broader picture of where we are in the evolution of our society, this is such an incredible time to be alive. I mean, it is so incredible. I mean, you think we have AI, we have blockchain, we have self-driving cars, we have rocket ships that can be caught by two arms, and SpaceX is going to deliver 90% of the payload to outer space, and they're going to do it with reusable rockets, which has reduced the cost of that by enough that now we can think about doing things like becoming multiplanetary. I mean, we really live in a time where abundance is so available to us, and I think that maybe as a philosophical take here, I think it's very easy to look at X or listen to CNN or Fox News and think, what's going on with our world today? It's a mess. Well, even if we hit current modern record violence, it's nowhere near the violence that occurred even 200 years ago. So we're, just to take in context, guys, like no one likes to see anybody get shot. But in terms of societally, our violence is so much lower than it was even 150, 200 years ago. So we're doing better in that regard. And you can truly choose your own adventure today. And just about anything. And regardless, the cool part about a lot of these technologies that are coming out is it doesn't matter if you're a florist or an HVAC contractor or a venture capitalist or an insurance agent, right? These things can be applied to your business to make them more fun, intriguing, engaging, personalizing, right? Differentiating. There's so much that if we just take a step back and, so I have some leadership coaching clients that I work with, and one of the first exercises that I have them do after we kind of get to know each other and, do some other things, is auditing their business as a user, right? As a client, as a customer, right? Like audit your business through that process as if, and let's start to find the places where the experience works, where it doesn't, where maybe you can present a wow or a differentiator. Is it as simple as building in conversational language? Is it a surprise gift that you give them in a moment where they wouldn't normally expect? Like the delivery mechanism of any of these things is right at your fingertips today and very accessible. So if you want to be superhuman, right, in terms of like you want to be the human brand, we're the local, we breathe the air, we shake, that's amazing, right? But to do that, you need time. So what these tools can give you in your back office work is time. Right? They can give you the time to go be that human agent, to be on the golf course, to be at the charity event, to do, to spend time with your kids. How many of us growing agencies or growing businesses in this space miss time with our children because we're grinding, right? And no one wants that, right? I love grinding. I work a lot, but it's paramount to me that I have the ability to be at my kids' sporting events. Okay, so how do I get there? I get there by building automations, by building self-service tools, by building a business that allows me to be the human that I want to be, and that's never been available at the cost that it is today, and it's only getting cheaper to do. And that excites the hell out of me.
That's great advice. I was actually going to say, since we veered off topic, if there's any listeners still, what would be the one advice you have to agents, regarding the topics we discussed? But I think you probably kind of covered it. But
I have one more
specific
piece of
about
advice
AI?
if you want to
There
hear
you
it.
go.
I have one more
Let's
piece of
hear it.
advice.
Drum roll.
Get to work. And what I mean by that is not that you're not working now. Not that I don't mean that. Please don't take that. Anyone who's listening, please don't take that as I don't think you're working now. I think right now we are in a window of time that if you press yourself, right? Like, obviously don't kill yourself, don't burn yourself out. But if you really lean in, if you focus up and you get after it right now, by doing some of the things, by working with agency management systems like Momentum that are building tools that are really thinking about your workflows, your time, your performance, right? If you can focus in at right now and build those systems now, you will separate yourself in a way from your competition that they cannot catch up to you. Now, this is a moment, right? Every generation gets moments. And for the 35 to 55-year-old agency owner, this is your moment. This is your moment. Grab these tools, learn them, get engaged with them, start to incrementally input them into your business, right? And do that hard work. It sucks. It's hard work. You got to think about things you don't want to do. It takes you away from selling. It can be frustrating. You can go down paths that you have to back out of. But if you're willing to put up with some of that friction and you put in place the business that does provide this kind of omni-channel communications and marketing and distribution setup that's possible with the tools that are available, you will build a business that cannot be broken. And so when I say get to work, I don't mean that you're not working hard today. I just mean that if you take advantage of what's here, it's a friggin' springboard. We are in that moment where it's available and it's accessible, but the market hasn't caught up yet. So this moment won't last forever. Eventually the market will be here, right? And, it was much easier to build my YouTube channel for the Murray Group back in 2012 to 2015 than it was building that YouTube channel, even though it worked the exact same way. And I told you guys for 15 years to do it, and none of you have done it. It was much harder to do it for Rogue Risk, right? There was just more competition, more people using YouTube, et cetera. And, we're in that moment with AI and automation, and I hope people grab onto it.
That's great advice. And I figure on this exciting, optimistic note, we'll probably end it. Adam, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm good. Just wind him up and let Ryan go. So that was easy.
No, this was, again, we lost Michael, the MC, but Ryan, amazing podcast. Thanks for your energy, all the advice. And, hopefully we'll at least help people and listening to us in the community. And, we'll have you back in the future. I honestly don't know much about Linkor. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Linkor. I can give you the 10-cent tour here just real quick.
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, again, I'm not plugging anything. I'm curious.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
Linkor is a company that I'm currently the chief growth officer of. So when I exited Rogue in November, I've made a bunch of angel investments and have a couple board positions, and Linkor was one of them. And as I got to know what they were doing, and got to, started to nerd out on AI a little bit, I became very intrigued with their version of the solution and what they were doing, how they're bringing it to the market. So I slowly got sucked in operationally, and in October, I went full-time as a chief growth officer. Linkora is a sales enablement platform for commercial insurance. Our tagline is every agent becomes a specialist on every account every time, right? The current version of the tool, which we call Link 1.0, is a chatbot, which if you put in name and address of the business, you can then ask that chatbot any question you want about that business and get an answer. So when I say any, I mean, how does premise liability apply to a multi-location HVAC contractor? And it will give you the answer, right? It'll give you coverage recommendations, risk profiles, et cetera, everything that you could need to know. It's a sales enablement through education today. What's coming down the pipe are all these sales tools that you can then take that data and actually produce real results. So it's very simple. Like I said, chat feature, it's $25 a user. We want, and what differentiates them in AI is that they do not leverage, and this is what drew me in. Ultimately, what got me over the hump to go operational with them was this particular feature I'm about to describe. They did a year of zero revenue development to build their own independent model. So where most of the AI tools that you look at today, most, not all, but most, what they're doing is building a function or a widget and then plugging into OpenAI or Claude or Llama or Gemini to get the AI functionality, right? What that allows you to do is quickly get out to market with a function. However, there are several drawbacks to that I see as ticking time bombs long term. The first is you have no idea where your data is going, okay? If you look in the terms and conditions of even the private instances of OpenAI, they have no legal requirement to not use your data. So you know, right? So everyone that's using a tool that is plugged into OpenAI, it's not saying they will use your information, but there's no requirement that they don't use their information. And they're currently being sued by some of the biggest media companies in the country. So obviously OpenAI has no problem scraping people's data and resurfacing it. So I think we need to be very careful with that. The other thing is those tools are not getting smarter for you because they're not building a model for you or for that tool. They're just constantly pinging whatever the current version of that AI instance is. So what intrigued me about Lincora was, one, because it's their own independent model, every interaction is making the model smarter for commercial insurance for independent agents. Every single touch makes it smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. Always, right? Second, because it's an independent model, your data is never getting out onto the open web. It's never being resurfaced for someone else. We can ensure that and do ensure that, right? And if we ingest your information, so we work with agents as our tool. That's what I described, the chat widget. We also have enterprise customers. And for enterprise customers, so larger business things, MGAs, insurtechs, carriers, et cetera, for those businesses, when we ingest their information, we actually spin up a private model. So essentially, they're creating their own private model, which is getting smarter for their business. So it's not as quick. The challenge has been, because we're our own independent model, and you know this, Peter, right? Like, it's harder to get function out because you're building on top of your stuff and you have to build all the foundation and everything. You know what I mean? You don't just go to the fancy molding on the stairway, right? You got to build all the other shit too. So the go to market has been a little slower, but our long-term ability to match what's happening from a technological standpoint and keep privacy and security paramount, to me, that was the winning combination and why I decided to join. So it's exciting. If anyone wants to check it out, like I said, it's $25. Hit me up on email. I'll send you a discount code because I love giving shit away for free. And if you're looking for a private model and you want to spend a ton of money, I'm your guy. I'm right.
I was going to ask
I'm kidding.
can we use that as a rag? Can we plug into your?
Hell yeah, you can plug into me. Yeah.
I'm serious because so you basically ragged it. You weren't what is the other word? You weren't fine tuning an existing model. Yeah. All right. Well, listen. A little pun intended here, but I'm perplexed as to why we don't currently integrate with that, because that would be the perfect tool for a radar.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a little bit of data enrichment, but that's old school. So I'm serious. Adam, can you arrange something? I'd like to see a demo and maybe give it to all our clients. I mean, they deserve to be part of the system.
Love it.
Idea, so.
Amazing conversation.
Yeah, there you go.
I want the free version. I'm picking you up on that free version.
I said, here's the funny part. I said a shit ton of money. I was mostly joking. Like, we built it and priced even the private model thing because and this is probably a fault of mine. I've always been a mid-sized to smaller agency guy, right? That's the world I grew up in. That's always been the market. Not that I don't love the Brown & Browns and the big guys. I have tons of friends there too. But we built this so it could be as accessible as possible to the boots on the ground agent. That was a core thing when I came in that philosophically I wanted them to agree on, is I did not want to build something that was enterprise only. And now, once again, the Main Street 10-person agency doesn't have access to the super cool tools. That's what I didn't want. So I was joking when I said pay us lots of money. Unless you want to, I will take it. But it is very accessible.
We share the same vices. I
Yeah.
always get yelled at for, loving the small guy and also giving shit away for free.
Yeah,
So
I get yelled at that for
but that's how you build relationship, right? And
Yeah.
back to the one thing AI cannot replace is build those human relationships.
Hell
Hopefully
yeah.
never. So.
Well,
Well, cool. Again, thanks a
Ryan,
lot,
thank you.
Ryan. That was
Yeah, thank you.
amazing, and hopefully we'll have a 2.0, all of the
Anytime.
sequels sometimes. And yeah,
Anytime.
we'll take a look at Lincora, and hopefully we can do some integrations and
I love
put
it.
the two systems together.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank
Appreciate you, Ryan.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Insurance Technology Amplified. Be sure to stay connected and up to date by following Momentum AMP on all social networks. For show notes, resources, and details on upcoming episodes, visit our podcast page at momentumamp.com/podcast. We look forward to having you join us next time. Take care and see you soon.